okay, a lot of these have just been depressing. Let's have a fun pair.
Darius and Draven?
No, they're not really well developed as brothers, even if they are awesome.
Lucas and Klaus.
I just said I don't want depressing!
I got it. The Drakes.
Perfect!
It's crazy too, because during the first 3 games, we didn't even consider the possibility that Nathan had a brother, and to see him suddenly appear in Uncharted 4 was a pleasant, if out of nowhere, surprise.
The sibling relation is pretty clear too, and not just in appearance. They're both adventurous, love treasure, and both had the tendency to dig themselves into holes that they had to climb out of. Sometimes literally. They had the same skill sets too. History and archaeology, athletics and acrobatics, charisma and social engineering, an insane amount of luck, and the thickest plot armor this side of Batman.
Where they differ though is priorities. By Uncharted 4, Nathan is pretty satisfied with his life. He loves his wife Elena, who is fantastically awesome and way too cool with all the shenanigans that go on during the game. And his job is still pretty interesting, if a little more normal. But Sam has a driven obsession with Captain Henry Avery's treasure, and will stop at nothing to find it, even ignoring his brother's pleas to stop.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves and talk about the relationship we see in the game. When they were young, their mother committed suicide, we think, and left them to take care of their father, who then turned them over to the state.
Dark.
They were raised in a Catholic boys' home where they learned Latin, how to fight, and how to sneak around.
This came in handy when they raided a manor to recover their mother's lost belongings, but when they are mistakenly believed to have killed the owner of the estate, they change their names and escape to new lives. Together, they combed the globe trying to finish their mother's work, exploring and nearly dying with each other. These two are so close that even though they only interact with each other in one game, you see how deep their bond runs. And even after not seeing each other for years, they restarted their relationship like nothing happened.
This even shows in how they clash. Their differences in how they think result in arguments and debates, mainly involving Avery's treasure. Nathan says he doesn't want Sam to go after the treasure because he thinks it's a fool's errand, but he really just doesn't want Sam getting himself killed, which he almost does, mainly by protecting his little bro.
Meanwhile, Sam can sense that yearning for adventure within Nathan, and he just wants his little brother to realize his full potential. A huge part of that may be because he wants to find the treasure, sure, but he still thinks of Nathan during it all, and he thinks of all of the good times they've had, and how well they work together.
Also, they're voiced by Nolan North and Troy Baker.
Because of course they are.
Those two might as well be brothers themselves.
There's a saying that as long as you love someone, they're never really gone. That's almost literal with Mia and Maya Fey.
Despite one of the siblings being dead, this is surprisingly not a depressing relationship. It helps that Phoenix Wright as a series is very goofy and lighthearted when it's not talking about cold-blooded murder.
The Fey sisters hail from the Fey clan and are trained spirit mediums, a detail that becomes one heck of a deus ex machina on several occasions in the series. Seriously, half the cases in the franchise have been resolved by a dead person's involvement.
Anyway, they're the daughters of Misty Fey, the most powerful spirit medium in the Khura'in village. I'll try not to spoil too much or get into too much detail,
As you so often tend to do.
but Misty Fey got involved in something known as the DL6 incident, where they used her channeling powers to solve a murder case. However, word got out that the police used a medium to settle a murder mystery, thus controversy ensued, and Misty Fey's name was run into the ground to the point where she was forced into hiding.
This in turn caused Mia to want to become a lawyer herself to uncover who exactly leaked that information. She picks it up pretty quickly too, even giving Miles Edgeworth a run for his money during her first real case. This eventually leads to her establishing the Fey Law Office and taking in Phoenix as her pupil.
I'm starting to realize that there's a lot of backstory involving these sisters.
Oh, we're not even close to being done yet. Despite having to grow up far apart, the two still maintained contact. Mia even entrusted Maya with many key pieces of evidence regarding the DL6 incident, which turned out to be a smart move in the end.
But even the most carefully laid defenses have their weak spots. One wiretapping and bludgeoning later, and Mia is murdered by Red White, a businessman who was directly involved with the DL6 incident and kept tabs on the police, the law offices, and Mia herself in an effort to conceal that evidence.
In comes Maya Fey, who finds her sister dead in the room, but then gets accused for the murder thanks to the lovable but incompetent Dick Gumshoe. Not one to take this lying down, Phoenix takes Maya's case and thus begins the winding web that is the Ace Attorney series and the growing bond between the sister Fey.
We spoiled too much and got too much into detail, didn't we?
Imagine my shock.
Anywho, despite them being unable to see each other, they still communicate. Sort of. When Maya channels Mia, she has no memories of the experience, so they finagled a method of talking to each other by writing messages, then repeatedly channeling on and off to communicate.
This ends up getting Maya out of a lot of messy situations, including the exposure of Red White, a kidnapping from Shelley D. Killer, and Dahlia Hawthorne's attempted revenge. I guess you could say that Mia is literally Maya's guardian angel.
Even so, she'll still channel Mia for some less urgent favors, like seducing the information out of a witness using a maid's outfit. Say what you will, that was hilarious.
And thanks to Maya's cousin, Pearl Fey,
who is one of the most adorable little buttons you'll ever meet.
The two even end up meeting face to face on occasion. The love and care they share even transcends mortality. And given how they've had each other's backs throughout everything the series has thrown at them, I don't think that's gonna change anytime soon.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the series has in store for these two. As long as it doesn't involve Maya getting accused of murder. Again. Of all of the siblings we've talked about so far, this next pair of brother and sister probably have the most in common with each other.
Incredible intellect, a strong penchant for magic, and an equally witty attitude towards their friends. That's the Sage siblings in a nutshell. Meet Genis and Raine.
Now, the backstory with these two gets rather complicated, so I'll keep it brief. Genis and Raine are half-elves who were sent to Silverant by their parents to avoid racial persecution.
Well, wouldn't be Dungeons & Dragons without a little in-universe racism.
This isn't Dungeons and Dragons.
Elves, half-elves, dragons, magic, RPG.
Oh my god, it is Dungeons and Dragons. Except Japanese.
Anyway, so Genis and Raine had to fend for themselves in Silverant, and Raine, being the older sister, took it upon herself to raise Genis, and they settled down in the town of Ylissean. Wow, these are $5 words.
Although they did have to guise themselves as full-blown elves, since half-elves are feared in Silverant. Seriously, half-elves can't seem to catch a break here.
All things considered, they did pretty well for themselves. Genis displays an incredible mind, being the top of his class, which is also taught by Raine, who became a respected teacher at only 23 years old.
And despite the parental role that Raine had to take to raise Genis, she is 11 years older than he is, after all. These two get along extremely well. While Raine is a competent mother figure, she can't cook for beans, and usually the little brother takes over. And Genis's intelligence and natural curiosity get him in trouble sometimes with his friend Lloyd, but like a good sister, Raine has no qualms about saving him from whatever happens. Though a lecture will probably accompany the rescue. They truly get each other, and are very dedicated to staying a family.
But alas, the world has affected their relationship. With an absence of an authority figure, the older sibling usually has to take charge and be the parent. This has affected Raine's personality, with her becoming a little closed off and much less tolerant of child shenanigans. Not only that, anyone would tell you that being a single parent is tough. And being a single parent while trying to survive in a world that actively hates you just for existing? Doubly tough. But they make it work together. This world is so bright and colorful, but the more you dig into it, it kinda sucks.
It's also amusing watching these two interact with each other. The aforementioned lectures that Raine gives Genis and Lloyd are filled with the gall of a concerned and tough-loving mother. And Genis rolls his eyes anytime Raine goes gaga over some ruins they found, referring to her little episodes as ruin mode. In both scenarios, these two siblings show an amusing amount of sass that you only really find with siblings.
The relationship even carries into battle, with the two displaying a great talent for magic. Raine acts as the white mage with some potent healing, and Genis ravages the field with black mage spells. And their unison attack, Prism Stars, might just be the most powerful spell in the game.
The two get along for the most part, but they also clash in their differences from time to time. But you know what? They treasure every single moment of it.
Okay, Josh, I need you to take a deep breath right now.
What for?
Trust me, just do it. We are entering pun territory.
Oh no.
I don't think these two really need an introduction, but that's kind of our job, so here we go, I guess. The Skelebros, Sans and Papyrus of Undertale.
At first glance, and even after that, these two are polar opposites in almost every way. Papyrus is loud and flamboyant, but Sans is calm and stoic. Papyrus takes his responsibilities seriously, but fumbles at every turn.
Sans is lazy, yet is probably the most competent and powerful character in the game.
Papyrus is righteous and tries to be the chivalrous knight he always dreamed of.
And Sans makes a bad joke or a humorous pun every opportunity he gets.
The differences are also evident in gameplay. Papyrus is one of the first major bosses you fight, and is also one of the easiest and most forgiving, especially since he simply imprisons you in a ribcage should you lose the fight. Sans, on the other hand, is the hardest boss in the game and provides no quarter. Piss him off enough, and he'll soon be working the graveyard shift. Population, you.
Yet, despite these differences, it is evidently clear that they care about each other if you take the time to learn about them. Papyrus often complains that Sans is a lazy bones, and that he is forced to clean up after him. But he secretly enjoys it, treasuring the idea that he is taking care of his brother. It's also hinted that Papyrus knows just how powerful Sans is, something he is perhaps a little jealous of.
Meanwhile, Sans is perfectly content with adhering to Papyrus's mindset. Even though he is disinterested in capturing humans, he still helps Papyrus because of how much fun he has doing it. Sans might be a sloth due to his awareness of the state of the world, but he secretly admires Papyrus's conviction, maybe even envies that he works himself to the bone. He'll even purposefully leave his socks lying around just to give Papyrus something to clean up. And if you talk to Sans after certain cutscenes, he'll brag about his brother's cooking or his conviction. It's pretty sweet.
Another interesting thing about these two is that while they are brothers and deeply care for one another, they both go through different arcs. Papyrus is learning to be a friend while Sans is going through a nihilistic crisis. There's also a color theory regarding their appearances. Sans wears light blue and Papyrus has an orange scarf. Not only are these complementary colors, but they translate into the game's mechanics. In battle, you have to do nothing for light blue hazards, and you have to keep moving through orange hazards. Reminds you of two lifestyles, don't it?
No bones about it. And for the fan theories about these two.
No!
Anyone can take one look at my channel and see that I love Fire Emblem. And there are a lot of siblings to choose from in the series.
Eldigan and Lachesis, Ephraim and Erica, Marth and Elise, the Pegasisters, the Hoshidans, the Norians.
Yeah, okay, bad example.
Bottom line, there's a lot of them. In a way, you could say that the sibling relationships are what drives a lot of Fire Emblem's plots, but we think the best one is from the game with perhaps the best overall cast in the series, Fire Emblem Awakening.
This is the only set on the list that has more than 2 characters on it, the Ylissean royal family of Emmeryn, Chrom, and Lissa.
These 3 are ascended royals of the Halidome of Ylisse, and they've been dealt a pretty bad hand considering their father was a recently deceased warmonger, and now they're picking up the pieces of a kingdom and world who now hates them.
But their bonds gave them strength as they worked together to mend the kingdom and restore the peace between Ylisse and Plegia. For the most part anyway. Turns out that people hold grudges and wanted to restart the war. Hate you, Gangrel.
Despite all the hatred, they still managed to rise above it. Emmeryn led the kingdom for 15 years, returning each nasty insult and violent action with a smile and kindness. Her patience and love pays off as she eventually becomes the most beloved person in the kingdom.
Keep in mind that she is also raising Chrom and Lissa during all of this. Emmeryn took the throne when she was 10, which means that their mother was dead by this point, meaning that Lissa was less than a year old when all of this started.
What a woman!
Thanks to their continued persistence, Emmeryn became the highly respected Exalt of Ylisse, and Chrom formed the Shepherds, a band of warriors dedicated to keeping the people of Ylisse safe. Meanwhile, Lissa assists both Chrom and Emmeryn with a joyful smile and a potent healing staff.
Hey, I think I got it. Emmeryn is the leader, Chrom is the enforcer, and Lissa is the ambassador.
Okay, that is awesome.
Throughout the first arc of Awakening, the relationship between these 3 is fully fleshed out. It's clear that they all care about each other and are willing to put themselves in harm's way to ensure the safety of the others. When Emmeryn is targeted for assassination, she pleads for her siblings to flee, but they stick around and fight. When they are escaping to Regniferox, Emmeryn returns to stand for Ylisse and pleads for Chrom and Lissa to finish their mission. All the while, they treat us to some playful banter and sibling rivalry. Lissa really doesn't like being called delicate.
A lot of how they relate as siblings can also be seen in the support conversations between Chrom and Lissa. It's interesting to see how they each provide what the others cannot. Emmeryn's patience and love, Chrom's strength and bravery, Lissa's hospitality and optimism. But they also somewhat envy each other because of it.
But it doesn't end well for this trio. In one of the most heartbreaking displays of love, Emmeryn sacrifices herself to bring the war to an end, and you can clearly see and feel the anguish that it's left on Lissa and Chrom, even years later. They had to have had a pretty strong relationship for that to happen.
This becomes especially clear when Chrom takes the position of Exalt, though he never actually uses the title. With Emmeryn gone, running the country falls to him, but he acknowledges that he will never live up to her legacy. Even still, he works with Lissa to ensure that her philosophy of peace lives on. It's almost as if in her sacrifice, part of her spirit was passed on to them, and it shows.
Have to call that into question since she didn't actually die. Somehow.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence about that. Getting some serious lumpy flashbacks here. Who else?
Mario and Luigi are the originals, the veteran siblings of the gaming industry, and they have displayed time and time again that as brothers, they have the most unbreakable and faithful of relationships.
These guys have done almost everything together, from killing giant enemy crabs in the sewer all the way to traveling through space and time. They faced menacing dragon turtles, armies of unrelenting minions, and nightmarish abominations. They've played sports, raced go-karts, and competed in lethal board games. Even as babies, they worked together.
The Mario and Luigi series is probably the best showcase of their relationship and just what these brothers are capable of. Not only do their personalities play off of each other in hilarious ways, they unleash synchronized combo attacks with flips, hammers, and items that only get crazier with each installment. The amount of practice and trust that these two would have to have borders on sibling mind meld.
I mean, you kind of have to trust each other and work together to get out of Bowser's bowels in one piece, wouldn't you?
Ew. Why does Japan have a fascination with entering the bodies of other things?
Anyways, while the personalities shift from game to game and media to media, there are a few things about them that stay consistent. Mario is typically headstrong, fearless, fun-loving, curious, and has a strong sense of justice. And he's chronically friend-zoned. At least he gets cake.
Luigi has timidity issues, but always does the right thing even if it means putting himself in harm's way, especially when it concerns his brother. Sometimes he may even have to be dragged along, but he always comes through. In other games, it showcases that Luigi does have a little bit of inner darkness. He harbors a lot of envy, and that envy eventually becomes part of the plot. Even in Smash Bros., the description of Luigi's final Smash Negative Zone describes it as Luigi channeling years of repression and darkness.
Oh gosh, was that why Colonel was freaking out during his Coda call with Snake?
Despite all of this, he still supports his big brother. That's true brotherly love right there.
Indeed. Perhaps the best showcase of the relationship is in Mario and Luigi Dream Team. When Mario and Dreamberg go to Dreams Deep and see the inner subconscious of Dreamy Luigi. Why does Luigi constantly follow his brother around? Because Mario makes him happy. Because he looks up to him. And because Luigi loves Mario more than anything else.
Which is proven time and time again in Luigi's Mansion, where he faces down his absolute worst fears to save his brother. He even cries tears of joy when he finally sees his brother is safe. Furthermore, it demonstrates that Mario doesn't see himself above his little brother. When Luigi saves him, Mario acknowledges his bravery, even calling him number one. Even if he is usually in the starring role, it's clear that Mario respects Luigi, knowing that there are trials Luigi can overcome that he can't.
There's a clear duality between these two. Mario's the valiant one, but Luigi is the heart. Mario is the warrior, Luigi is the thinker. Mario takes the lead, and Luigi has no issues following him every step of the way. They may play different roles, but in their eyes, as brothers, they're equals. There's no better choice for number one.
I'm the Fiery Joker.
And I'm the Green Scorpion.
And
Merry Christmas. Food!
Hey, get back here! The wall turkey is